Some of the pictures are just absolutely remarkable. We've got some of your favourites. We're going to start. We've got this globe that we're going to pop up onto the table here, and through the magic of television, hopefully, we're going to see a wonderful picture of southern Europe. So here we go.
You're doing it like it's magic.
Well, I am. I'm just sort of creating the effect. And any second now, hopefully, up will pop this beautiful shot here, Tim.
Yes, this is Mount Etna in Sicily. And one of the great things when you look out the window from the space station is you never know what you're going to see. Everything changes all the time. The Earth is so dynamic and so beautiful. And we were passing over Italy, and I had a quick break in my work. I looked out, and there was Etna smoking away. So I took that quick photograph.
Because we were going to ask you, because your schedule, you told us before you left, was going to be really tight. I mean, every minute, more or less, was accounted for, wasn't it? So did you have sort of gaps then where you thought, right, now I'm going to do a bit of photography?
Yes, well, every morning I would look at the orbits that we were going to have throughout the whole day.
Right.
And if there were some things I really wanted to take, like the pyramids or Everest, then I would set my alarm for those, and I would try and make them. Sometimes I was too busy, I couldn't do it. Sometimes it just worked out well, and I'd grab the camera and go take a photograph. And then on Sundays, I had a bit more time to concentrate on photography as well.
OK. Well,
can I just ask, were you a photographer before?
I wasn't, no. In fact,
so
my
this
wife...
This is all complete amateur stuff, as it were, novice.
My wife always laughs because she takes far better photographs than I do on vacation. But we had lots of instruction beforehand from NASA, and then on board I was very lucky. I was with Scott Kelly. He had been up there for 9 months before I arrived.
Right.
And flown before, Tim Cooper, Jeff Williams. I had these very experienced astronauts who were able to help me with the space photography. So I rapidly improved in the first couple of months.
Well, you've nailed it, I think.
Shall we have a look at another one? Let's have a look at another one. Let's put the globe up, and I'll wave my arms again and see what happens. Hopefully we've got something involving the South Indian Ocean here. Oh, my word, Tim.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. Now, I wanted to see the aurora. That was one of the things I was really looking forward to seeing from space. Yeah. I didn't realise how spoiled I was going to be. I thought I might see it 3 or 4 times. During the winter months, we were getting aurora like this 3 or 4 times a week. And this is Australis, of course. The Borealis is just as magnificent.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
I mean, you're zooming along here at 17,000 miles an hour, and then the Earth is... I mean, I can't quite work out how it's all working, but did it seem like the Earth was whipping by fast or
you
slow?
Don't get that sensation of speed, actually. It's very gentle, it's very calm. I mean, you can see yourself passing over the continents very rapidly. But the aurora there in particular, actually, when it's very active like that and you get the red hue over the top of the aurora, that's stretching almost up to 400 kilometres. So the space station is actually flying through the top of the aurora. And sometimes you would get this green fog that surrounded the whole space station. It's the most eerie thing ever to look out the window and see yourself in green fog.
There you go. Whoa.
Wow. So then let's go to the UK, because you, of course, took one of your hometown, of Chichester. Now, how on earth were you feeling? You know, miles and miles away, looking down at where your family were and your wife was and your children. I mean, that must have been quite surreal.
It is. It's very strange, and but in some ways it's very nice. It gives you that connection with planet Earth, and when you're in space for such a long time, it's important to have those connections, either by calling friends or family, or by photographs, or by the food you eat, the things that remind you of what life on Earth is like.
Did you feel a bit homesick at that point?
I never really felt too homesick. Of course, I miss my friends and family, but I actually felt very close to Earth. You're orbiting, you know, 16 times every day you go around the planet, and so you actually feel very
connected,
very connected to Earth.
Did you ever have one of those moments? I mean, I'm not afraid of flying, but you know, when you're up there, you sometimes have like a reality check, and you think, oh, I shouldn't be here. This is a bit weird. Did you ever have any of those kind of really odd moments where you just panic?
I never felt like that inside the space station. Out on the spacewalk, yes, you're very aware that you're in a very exposed situation, and it's another order of magnitude in terms of risk.
Well, talking of that
we've got some footage of the
time.
spacewalk here. I mean, can you explain to us what the sensation was like? Because obviously you've trained for ages, but this was the real thing, wasn't it? It's the first time you'd done it.
That's right, yes, the first time I'd done it. I'd had a bit of time in the airlock whilst I was passing out the equipment to Tim Cooper. He went out first, but the first time I kind of dropped through the hatch there. And looked beneath me, and the planet was just going into the night time. So the sun was setting, the planet was completely black beneath me, and it was like dropping into an abyss. And it's just the most incredible feeling ever.
Was that the scariest bit of the mission?
Yeah, I think that and the docking. We had quite an exciting docking as well. Some of the sensors failed, and so we had to come in for a manual docking.
But did you have to dig deep for courage To go out, to actually go out,
really.
Like skydive?
I mean, I was actually probably more apprehensive in the days prior to the spacewalk, but when it came to actually suiting up and then depressurising and then going out the airlock, I was very relaxed, very comfortable.
Yeah. Do you often think back to that moment?
I do, yes, yeah, I do think back to that, and you know, and also having time outside of the spacewalk to enjoy it as well.
Well, listen, my children were hooked because they were part of the experiment that you did with the seeds as well, because just to explain to everybody very quickly what happened, because you took some seeds up to space, didn't you, and then brought them back to school?
That's right, yeah. We tried to run as many different educational outreach programmes as possible to engage school kids all around the UK, and one of the ideas was to take up rocket seeds that we could then send out to schools. Now, they would get some seeds that were flown in space and some seeds that weren't flown in space. They grew the seeds and they were going to see if there was any difference between the two.
Yeah.
And it was a great experiment. It really engaged school children everywhere. And we actually determined, it was real science as well, we determined that there was a difference, and the space-flown seeds did have damage to them. They didn't grow as well, they didn't germinate as quickly, and so we're able to analyse why that happened. And this is important when we're talking about going to the moon and going to Mars, so that we can make sure that we can grow seeds and grow food in space.
I mean, you really captured children's and adults alike imagination. It was so fantastic.
We could talk for hours, couldn't we? We're going to move on for a while. We will come back to this, everybody, so don't worry too much. But as we've heard, Tim's time in space has been hugely inspirational to a generation of school children. Many watched a live link to him from the comfort of their classrooms.
But now the school trip is going virtual. So in future, children could be coming home telling their parents they've travelled to all sorts of amazing locations, and all without anybody losing their lunch money or forgetting their sandwiches.
Who remembers their school trips? Getting students out of the classroom and on a journey to a new experience. Whether it was a 3-hour trip on a coach to a museum or a flight to another country, these are memories that few of us forget.
We went to the Tower of London and I absolutely loved it.
Going to farms, and the main thing that I used to like was the picnic that we used to have there, to be honest.
We went to the cinema and we saw Great Expectations, and it stuck in my mind all these years.
Come up over the ditches. But times have changed since my last school trip. At this school, the pupils are about to go on a trip that most people could only dream of. An afternoon in space. Yep, you did hear me correctly.
You ready?
Yeah.
It's all thanks to virtual reality technology that this class of school children can leave the planet without even getting out of their seats. A mobile phone slots in the front of a cardboard viewer and transforms the phone into a virtual reality headset.
We looked at space and we looked at the International Space Station. They could look around 360, and on my tablet I could see where they were all looking, so I could see if they were focusing on a certain point. And I think that's a good thing that you don't necessarily get if you're looking at children in a class, what they're actually focusing on. If they wanted them to look out the window, I could point them in that direction, and then I could ask them questions and sort of discuss it further.
My favourite bit was when we could look around the International Space Station, because you could see all of the stuff what they used.
I could move around to see where I wanted to go. You feel you was right there.
Going on a school trip, it's so much work. Like, you go to the train, and then once you get there, it isn't really as fun as going like into space. It's virtual reality.
The difference between real life and virtual reality is when we went to the observatory, we could only just see pictures, but when we actually used a virtual reality, we could actually feel like we were there.
Miss, is virtual reality ever going to replace the school trips, the traditional sort?
Well, we're actually going on a school trip to the Tower of London next week, and we were discussing about whether we think it's going to replace it. I think that it can improve it, and it can perhaps be used when you come back from a school trip to look at the things you've looked at and to immerse yourself into it perhaps a bit deeper, but I don't think it will ever replace school trips.
A trip to the space station is out of this world, but what other journeys can I go on?
We actually now have over 400 expeditions, and we're actually launching 50 new ones today. Everything from famous museums and landmarks to things that you would never have the opportunity to visit. So going diving in the Great Barrier Reef, going inside the human body and really understanding how blood is delivered and pumped around the heart. They work best when they're in tandem with school trips, definitely to enhance learning, but never to replace regular school trips.
This technology is a great way for kids to take the sort of journey that just wouldn't be possible any other way. But I don't think it's the last bell for traditional school trips anytime soon.
We've got mixed opinions about
well,
that on the old camp here.
But there's nothing like a proper trip to Tenby in the rain.
Listen, you're too right, you're too right.
You know.
The Farne Islands up north every year, or Beamish. Classic. Anyway, we've come out here to a bit of a trip of our own, actually, to the One Show stables. We've got a little paddock back here.
Who knew we had stables?
One Show ranch or whatever who knew. Yes, to bring us into the world of children's books and to Claire's new book, because this is all about a racehorse who wouldn't gallop, Claire. Now, unbelievably, we rang up the local riding stable today and said, look, we want to get a horse and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And we started explaining the story, and they went, oh, yeah, we've got a horse called Noddy, and he has a Palomino friend.
No
so
way, this is what it is.
I mean, these are the characters that are in your book, extraordinary.
Yes.
Your Palomino's called Percy, isn't it? And this is called Penelope, so nearly.
I know, very close.
Yeah.
And actually, because Penelope's looking vaguely grumpy there, I think she's had enough. She's basically hungry, and Percy, in my book, is hungry all the time, gets quite grumpy, he's occasionally violent, and generally does the wrong thing whenever... You know, whenever good behaviour is required, he does the wrong thing.
You need to add a little Trevor to the second
little
one.
one's called Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor's just a big fan of the One Show. That's why he's here.
Love Trevor.
I've never met a pony called Trevor before, and I'm quite thrilled with that. Yeah. And
So
look
let's
at
get on to
Noddy.
the book.
Noddy's all gorgeous
I
and
know.
lovely.
Very well behaved.
Properly noble.
Yeah.
So the main character, Claire, is called Charlie.
Yeah,
in the book. Now tell us a bit about Charlie's ups and downs.
She's a 10-year-old girl with two older brothers who tease her a lot. Now, your daughter's read the book, hasn't she?
She has.
And I think quite a lot of girls will identify strongly with Charlie. And she also, she's got different ideas. So when her family are looking for ideas to make money, to save the farm, their way of life, she says, let's buy a racehorse and try and win the derby. And her brothers go, that's just stupid. The boys were suggesting things, because they live on a farm, so they've got chickens and pigs and cows and stuff. And the boys are suggesting that they teach the chickens to dance and then sell tickets to Strictly Come Chicken dancing. Stuff like that.
Brilliant.
Well, Molly very much knows your horsey credentials, and so she said, how much of this is related to your life? We've actually got a lovely picture of you on one of your early steeds.
Oh, that's neat, yeah. That was Volcano, that pony, yes. And my brother over there on the left as well, he was riding a pony called Charlie Rosette, who was pretty uncontrollable. Yeah, obviously, the love of ponies and that outdoor life and everything, but actually the idea of a horse not going anywhere without a friend is based on real racehorses. And there was a very famous racehorse called Remittance Man who wouldn't go anywhere without a sheep. And they had the one sheep that was with them all the time. And then his trainer, Nicky Henderson, thought, we better give that sheep a rest. So took the sheep out and put an alternative one, thinking he won't notice. He picked up the new sheep in his teeth and threw it out the stable.
Violent.
So then they had to find the original one because they'd put it out with all the rest of the flock.
Yeah,
they didn't know, so then they had to put the racehorse... Anyway, there are real stories that, you know, all horses are different. They've got very different personalities. And it's not beyond the realms of possibility that you might get one that wouldn't gallop because he just wants to go the pace that Percy, his little friend, goes.
Yeah.
He's not going to go any faster than that.
No.
And it is a beautiful book, illustrated by Tony Ross, which is great to see. And like every great children's book, you'll know this, Tim, from having children yourself, there's a strong message in there, isn't there?
Yeah, well, Charlie's she's a creative thinker, but she believes very strongly in teamwork and in getting other people to do, you know, to help you. And she also believes in this idea that we've all got an Olympian within us. So even if you can't go to the Olympics and win a gold medal like Max Whitlock or Nick Skelton or whoever, or Adam Peaty, that you've got something within you that if you can channel it right, you could be the guy who goes to space. Or you could be the girl who invents, you know, the cure for cancer or something. That actually, if we all really focus hard and concentrate and get other people to help us and we stay positive, it's there. Yeah.
And also, Claire, I mean, I don't want to give away what happens in the book at all, but your dad, he did train a winner of the Epsom Derby.
He did. He won the Derby in 1971 with Mill Reef, who luckily was a horse who did want to gallop all the time.
Do you remember that excitement? Or no,
you must be, because I was born that year.
Were you? Sorry.
Yeah.
You tell him, Claire.
I know.
Oh,
I was going to say it was in the 70s.
You're not much younger than me. No.
I'm not. But no, obviously that was a big moment in the family.
I do remember in 1981, Dad had another well-fancied horse in the Derby called Glint of Gold, and he was second to Shergar. And I remember that, and I remember being able to watch that at school, and that we were allowed to because Dad had a runner in it. But Shergar won by so far that our jockey actually thought he'd won because he couldn't see Shergar.
Oh, gosh. And you've both been touring your books around schools. I mean, Tim, what's the most sort of hilarious question that you've had from one of the children? Because
School
they come
children
up with all
are
sorts,
brilliant
don't they?
because they're the ones I'm terrified when I get questions from school children. They ask the questions that the adults are too embarrassed to ask, and it normally involves, you know, bodily functions in space, something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's the answer?
Well, it's very normal. We just use a lot of air, vacuum pumps to keep everything flowing in the right direction when we go to the loo in space.
Very diplomatically put in.
Yeah.
Very nice for a tea time show. Well, the racehorse who wouldn't gallop is out now, and thanks to Trent Park Equestrian Centre for bringing along these lovely horses. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Trevor, as well.
Love Trevor.
Hope the one show lived up to your expectation.
I'm going to just go now.
Well, listen, as Claire well knows, in winter, horses like Noddy and Penelope here, and of course Trevor, let's not leave him out, and need a little extra care and attention to stay comfortable over the winter time.
Yes. Now, it sounds strange to non-horsey people, but that includes clipping back their winter coats, which lets some owners take their creative side out for a gallop.
Speaking of which, I think I'm about to get a clip round the ear from Claire Balding after that.
My name is Gillian Scott and I am a clip artist. Other people have called me the Clipper Queen. There are a lot of people in the area that clip horses, but nobody's doing what I can do. In the winter, horses grow an extra thick coat to protect them from the weather and keep them nice and warm. But if you're riding your horse, that extra warm coat traps heat, so we clip portions of the hair to help cool them down. Clipping horses is not cruel, it doesn't upset them in any way at all. It's something that's done for their own benefit. I just happen to get a little bit creative with it. I just practiced and practiced over the years until I got my first horsey job, and that was when I started clipping for other people. The first full-body creative clip that I did was the zebra. My motto for clipping is always, if it's not perfect, it's not good enough. Everybody loves the leopard print clip. It was just so difficult, and I was just in the zone that day, and it just sort of happened without me even really thinking about what was going on. Today I'll be doing a brand new clip, especially for the one show, on my pony Cody. It's going to be a medieval design, mixture between a knight's armour and a dragon clip. So we're going to have armour along the top half and possibly dragon scales and wings here. So this was like a first little sketch of just external lines of the clip, and then we'll start adding in the details and make them stand out a little bit more. I'm always worried that I make a mistake, because doing this sort of thing, if you make a mistake, the whole thing's ruined. Getting right into it now, there's no going back now. I've never had one that didn't turn out right yet, so fingers crossed it doesn't go wrong today. All finished. I'm really pleased how the clip's turned out. It's probably one of the best that I've ever done. I'm really excited for people to see it.
My name's Janice Morrison, and I've organised the show here today for our local riding club. But the slightly unusual class today is the clip class, which is a class for artistic clips rather than just your normal clips that horses would have.
I think the judges will be intrigued, I think they'll be surprised, and I think they'll be really pleased to see what I do.
We've never had this before at any shows before. This is a first, so we're all excited to see this clip.
Best clips class, please! Come forward!
I love to challenge myself, and I love that I can do something that's different. I love seeing people's reactions. Like, people are always so amazed that it's all freehand. I don't really think of myself as an artist. I'm just doing something that I love doing.
It's very unusual, but I hope it catches on. And I found all the clips really, really nice, and it was hard to judge. Well done.
Thank you. Cody got first place in the class. The judge really, really liked the clip.
There's been quite a few people come up and commented today, saying how good it is.
It's really unusual and no one else really has it, and I like standing out. My favourite one was the one with the dragon wings. I liked the wings on it, it was fancy.
I would love it if more people were inspired to do something creative. It would be nice to see other people up their game and try something different. Cody's definitely had a good day, he loves being the centre of attention.
Well, Claire, what do you make of that? I mean, to be fair, we've got some of those clippers at home, and you have to be very, very careful.
You have to be really careful. You've got to be... And also, you've got to have a very, very calm horse or pony.
You do.
But it's kind of important. Clipping is... The reason people do it through the winter is because when a horse sweats in the winter, they take ages to dry off, because obviously it's a really, really long coat. So you clip where they're going to sweat while keeping them warm, where they're not necessarily going to get sweat, so over the top of the quarters. But, you know, artistic... You know, there's artistic creation and everything. I mean, I don't think it's doing too much harm. It's just... Not necessarily... I mean...
Yeah. Question of taste.
Yeah.
It is.
I wasn't keen on the Pokemon.
Well, I quite like the zebra was quite interesting.
Yeah. Horses for courses is the phrase.
Yeah. Indeed.
Good. Tim, you were telling us earlier how come you named your book Is This Planet Earth, which is a very funny story. So with that in mind, we've lined up some one-show viewers who'd like to speak to you. They've got some questions for you. So let's say hello to the person on line 1.
OK. Hello, is this Planet Earth?
Hello, Tim. It's Anne from Southampton. I wondered if there was a medical emergency on board, like an appendicitis or something, were you medically trained to do any operations on your colleagues? And how quickly, in an emergency, would you be able to get the Soyuz and a casualty ready to return to Earth?
Hi, Anne. Yeah, that's a really important question. We do a lot of medical training. We're all trained up to a very high standard in first aid and also in minor surgery. We wouldn't try and take on something like appendicitis. We would deal with that with antibiotics. But we can actually extract teeth. We're taught how to do that. We can administer local anaesthetics. We can do suturing. But if it was a serious appendicitis, we would look at returning the crew member to Earth if the antibiotics didn't work. Now, we could be back within about 12 hours in a serious emergency.
Right? Okay.
Yes, it only actually takes about 3 to 4 hours to go through the return to Earth and re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and the rest of the time would obviously be preparation.
Super question, Anne. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to line 2 if we can. Off you go, Tim.
OK, line 2. Hello, is this Planet Earth?
Yes, Tim. It's Sarah from Oxford in East Sussex. The question from me and my space mad brother, Matthew, is how do you stay clean in space?
That's a great question, Claire. So staying clean is very important, obviously. You've got other crewmates you have to think about as well. And we exercise for 2 hours every day, so we do get hot and sweaty every day. It's a bit like camping, though. We just use flannels, hot water, give ourselves a good wipe down, and we can brush our teeth and wash our hair normally and shave. But you just have to really just use flannels and hot water and keep yourself as clean as possible. But you don't actually get that dirty in space. It's a very clean and sterile environment.
Oh, what was your first bath like when you got back home?
The first time it was a shower. It felt wonderful to jump into a hot shower. Yeah, really, really good.
I bet.
Yeah.
Sarah, great question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go to line 3 now, then.
Line 3. Hello, is this Planet Earth?
Hello there. It's Alan Briscoe from Tyneside. Tim, has your career peaked now, or is there something else? Or is there something else in the offing, like flying to the moon, for instance?
Well, yes, definitely flying to the moon. There's a lot happening in space exploration. We've got a really exciting future coming up. We're looking towards life after the space station now. So lunar missions with the European Space Agency. We're looking at how we can set up a lunar village. There's places on the south pole of the moon, near the Shackleton crater, for example, where in permanent sunlight. So they're ideal spots for setting up research facilities there. We'll start to do those manned missions in the early 2020s. Now, these will be translunar, not lunar landings. Hopefully the lunar landings will occur later that decade. And this is all the stepping stones to go onto Mars. So very exciting progression. We've already got, space station will go on until 2024, so we've got some great years ahead of us in the space station as well. But really exciting times ahead.
OK, great. Well, thank you very much indeed for that, Alan. We've just got time to go to line 4, Tim.
Line 4. Hello, is this Planet Earth?
Hello, Tim. This is Betty Barker from Botham near Chichester.
Great.
Do you recognise Betty's voice at all?
Betty, I do. I get to apologise live on television. Betty, it's great to talk to you again.
Well, I think I should apologise to you for ringing off.
Not at all. It made for the title of my book and a very funny story. So thank you, Betty.
Oh. Thank you.
Betty, when you received the call, what were you thinking?
I I didn't really know what to think. I thought perhaps it was some local person looking for a nightclub.
Yeah. So then you put the phone down, and what did you say to anybody? Did you mention it to your husband or anything?
Yes, I said to my husband, I've just had a very peculiar phone call, somebody asking for Planet Earth. Do we know a nightclub of that name?
Tremendous.
That is probably, yes, the most, the most terrific phone call you've ever had, Betty.
Sorry?
The most terrific phone call you must have ever had.
Oh, yes.
Listen, Betty, thanks for your time tonight. We really enjoyed that. Lovely. What a great punchline to that item.
Thank you. It's time now to check back in with Siva, whose Parkinson's had left him needing dangerous brain surgery.
Yes, now, just a reminder, when our cameras filmed him in hospital, it was almost time for an operation that has to be seen to be believed. Here we go.
Today, 60-year-old Siva Palaraja is having deep brain stimulation to help relieve the tremor, stiffness and speech problems caused by his Parkinson's disease.
They checked your blood sugar yesterday. It was a bit high, wasn't it?
And he's had an unexpected visitor. His much-loved son, Sai, a medical student, has flown back from Australia to be at his father's bedside.
I figured it's quite important for my dad if I was here, so I decided to come back a bit early.
Neurosurgeon Dipankar Nandi will be inserting electrodes deep into Siva's brain to jam the faulty nerve signals triggering his symptoms.
It's critical, the accuracy of where we need to go, and any millimetre shift, any direction can have effects which you don't want. Well, I'll see you shortly.
Okay, thank you so
I'll
much.
see you upstairs.
Today, Siva will need all his courage. The operation demands that he stays awake during the critical stages, so the team can gauge his responses. To support his father, Mr. Nandi has invited Sai to be in theatre.
We tend to do this quite often nowadays, to have a family member who can speak his language, who can respond to him, reassure him, helps immensely.
With his head immobilized, Siva is scanned so Mr. Nandi can pinpoint his target, an area of Siva's brain no bigger than a grain of rice.
That is the top of his brain, the head, and this is where we need to go. It's a long way in, I would say about 15 centimeters. If you make an error here or there's damage here where you shouldn't be going, it can lead to paralysis, death, it can lead to difficulty with speaking, walking, balance.
Back in theatre, Mr. Nandi uses the coordinates from the scans to assemble a second head frame.
Essentially, it is engineering, very, very good engineering. Well, it's more like mechano. So once we got this on him, it will not permit us to deviate from that target.
Meanwhile, neurologist Peter Bain is checking the pre-operative range of Siva's movement.
We're feeling the tone in the muscles, which is the stiffness in the muscles. As you can see, I'm having to work quite hard even just to bend his wrist, and that's a hallmark of Parkinson's. So when the stimulation is being tested, we hope to see most of that rigidity disappear.
Siva is still wide awake, but with the benefit of a strong local anaesthetic, he feels nothing as Mr. Nandi creates the pathway into his brain.
So what we are doing is now the electrode is in, and Dr. Bain and Pavesi will check stimulation.
The team deliver a small electrical current into the centre of Siva's brain.
Just open and close the hand, right open. Wow, that's what 1.1. This is fantastic.
Even at the very lowest levels of stimulation, the results are truly remarkable.
What do you think, Mr. Siva?
Yes, beginning to rock and roll, eh?
It's amazing, yeah. The results are like immediate. Like, all these problems, the rigidity, it just sort of disappeared.
Dr. Bain wants to do another check. Before the stimulation, Siva's speech was almost incomprehensible.
Can you just say, my son is called Sai again for me? Just say that again.
My son is called Sai.
We've knocked the tremor out.
Satisfied they found the right level of stimulation to control movement on the left side of Siva's body, the second electrode is threaded into place to stimulate Siva's right-hand side.
I get a great sense of relief that we're in the right place, that we've hit the grain of rice in the brain, thanks to Mr. Nandi's brilliant work. And what's fantastic for me as a neurologist is to see 7 years of Parkinsonism disappearing in just minutes. That's just quite incredible. We would not normally see that.
For now, the stimulation will be turned off, and Siva will be given a general anaesthetic, while the electrodes are wired to a programmable pacemaker implanted in his chest.
We just tunneled through some wires and put the battery in. And that's that.
It's been a long day, full of trepidation, but at last, Siva can smile.
Mr. Nand is my God.
You must tell that to my wife.
Neurologist Dr. Peter Bain are here with us. Siva, thank you so much, first of all, for letting us follow your story. It was fascinating to see the effects of that operation there. But, I mean, you were awake throughout the whole thing, as Dr. Bain was explaining. Can you remember how you felt then when you were in the operating theatre?
Earlier I was slightly worried earlier. After that I am quite well, sir. I move my finger and can perfect.
And that moment when you were gripping your hand and moving your fingers, how did you comprehend what was happening?
Yeah, miracles. If I do the whole my brain, put the wire over there, touch my brain inside, suddenly change my movement, everything changed.
Yeah.
From that moment, goodness me. And so, what's the reality now of living this way with Parkinson's for you, and how does it compare to before, and how do you actually feel now?
My day-to-day activities I am eating, and I am driving quite well now.
Yeah.
I eating now is okay. Personally, I am eating myself. Usually, I depend some other people. And tremor stop actually 70–60%.
That's a big improvement.
Yeah, my medication also 50% cut earlier, 14 milligram roll.
I see. So you reduced your medication.
Reduced my medication, 8 milligram. Cinemat Plus also, I'm taking 4 times now, 3 times.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a big change to your life then, yeah. And Dr. Bain, do you expect there to be a continual progression now, or is it a case of adjusting the little remote control that Siva has just to check his levels and see actually, you know, which level is best for him?
Yeah, we still expect further improvement because he'll be coming back to Charing Cross Hospital for further programming sessions, and we think we can get better improvement. But he also has a handheld controller where he can adjust his own stimulation levels, and we set the top and bottom levels that he can go to, and therefore he can adjust it every single day whenever he wants to his requirements.
Could we just see it, Siva? Do you just want to pull it out there? Right.
So remote control.
And so the condition then, Dr. Bain, it still differs day to day here, but what effect does this have on the kind of long-term prognosis of Parkinson's?
In terms of the long-term prognosis, it doesn't adjust the rate of decline of Parkinson's, which is a very gradual, slow rate of decline. But it improves the patient so that instead of being here and declining slowly, they are in a much better state and declining slowly. So that improvement lasts for many years going forward, keeping above where they are now. But actually a most important thing is that on a day-to-day basis, in Parkinson's that has gone on for a few years, it's a bit like going to the seaside and seeing giant waves going. And Siva experienced this himself prior to the operation, that on days his medicines would cut out and he'd be really stuck and unable to walk, not able to speak. And then this would then turn back on and then off again, almost like waves. And with deep brain stimulation, we smooth those waves down. Not completely, but we don't have these huge oscillations in the day. So that's a very major benefit.
And lots of people will be hearing you speak now and have seen the film and will be taking a lot of heart and hope from that. So who's eligible for this operation then?
So really we're looking for people where the medicine has not helped them sufficiently, so that the control of their Parkinson's is insufficiently good with their medicine. Quite often that's the tremor, that medicine can't reduce the tremor well. But it's really the patients who have these on-off fluctuations like waves during the day and are having a large part of the day, 3/4 of the day, when it's very poor quality time. If we do deep brain stimulation, then we can reduce that to maybe 24–25% of the day is not good quality time. But that's a huge expansion. So we expand the quality time in the day.
Yeah, okay.
And Siva, talking of that quality time,
Okay.
we saw you in the first film. You said that you would often go out into your garden and you would cry. And
Yeah,
how are your days now?
At least I can't move my hand or my leg I can't move much. If I do some digging soil, I can put a stool and everything. Now I don't need a stool or anything. I can do myself anyway.
Siva and Dr. Bain, thank you ever so much. And if you need more information about Parkinson's, there's some available on the website.
Now, temperatures in the south have been colder than in the north today. It's hard to believe. And later it will be -7 in the Midlands at the midpoint, but a toasty 5 degrees in Inverness.
Nice.
Happy times.
There is still plenty of snow on the high ground in the Cairngorms, though, where Mike has been going beyond the call of duty to film the elusive Capercaillie.
The Highlands of Scotland offer not only some of the most beautiful and dramatic landscapes in the UK, but provide the habitat for one of our rarest and largest birds.
It's the biggest grouse in the world, the Capercaillie, and I'm hoping to get closer than I've ever been before to capture a very particular behaviour.
6 years ago, I visited a site near here and saw just a brief glimpse of a single male. But I want to go one stage better.
And to do that, I'll have to spend the night in a wee hide with an extra large cameraman. All right, Al?
All right, Mike. Lecking is an elaborate mating ritual that male capercaillies perform to lure in the lasses and fight off other love rivals.
These feisty birds became extinct in Britain in the 18th century, but thanks to a reintroduction project and active conservation measures, it was hoped they were staging a fight back.
Gareth Marshall has been the Capercaillie project officer here for the last 2 years.
Gareth, how is the Capercaillie doing in Scotland?
Here in Strathspey, they're actually doing relatively well, but away from that, generally smaller, declining populations. It's a fairly sad story. A kind of crude estimate from the 1970s, there were about 20,000 individual Capercaillie in Scotland, and that's gone down to between 1 and 2,000 in the last 10 to 20 years.
It's crucial that the Capercaillie aren't disturbed in their habitat, and we've got a special licence to film them. Kenny Cortland is going to show me a top-secret location where we hope to be able to observe this unique behaviour.
Now the lek. Males getting together and showing off.
That's right. All the males congregate in the forest and they display to each other. They've been doing that for several weeks now, and they try and ascertain who's the dominant male, and that dominant male gets most of the matings with the females.
The lucky devil. I understand there's a lek quite close, just over the brow of this hill.
Yeah, a few hundred metres away there's a lek site, and that's the one that you're going to be counting for us and filming at.
The males display at dawn, and they're incredibly shy birds, so if they have any hint that we're here, they'll be gone. With camera traps in place, we wait until morning. Well, it's 2:30 in the morning. We've had about 2 hours sleep, but one slight problem is finding a small camouflaged hide. I lead the way without torches, but it's pitch black and the ground is uneven. Once at the hide, we're not allowed to leave until 10 in the morning. Now it's just a question of waiting. I need a wee, Mike.
If I'm going to be honest, that was a cold, long, miserable and fruitless night.
So the following night, we give it another shot.
I'm also a really light sleeper. So as soon as the birds start kicking off, all I have to do is sit up and start bird watching.
While I'm out for the count, the camera traps capture a brief glimpse of the elusive bird. But that's it. With one final attempt left, we decide to make it an all-nighter.
So I think we're looking at probably 13 hours in here. There you are.
By 5 in the morning, we're nearly at breaking point. And then...
I've just heard one dropping onto the ground. There's another one. It is a really positive sign. is a bird displaying right in front of the camera trap. This is a big lek. All of the leks I've seen, 2 or 3 birds. This one has at least 7. And he's off. What's been particularly thrilling about this visit is the feeling that we've been slap bang right in the middle of the lek. And it just goes to show all that conservation work, certainly here, is finally paying off. And who knows, if I come back in another 6 years, maybe I'll see even more.
Well, there we are.
Commitment for you.
Thanks to Mike and his big friend. That is seriously all we've got time for tonight. Big thanks to all of our guests, horses and humans. Stay tuned for Watchdog.
Yes, tomorrow Rupert Sewell and Lucy Worsley. We'll see you at 7.
Good night.